Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Under strange and unexplainable circumstances. Most cases remain unsolved. What happened? Where did they go? Locations unknown.
Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Erratic, and with me, as always, is a guy who would never poison Jamie Foxx, Mike Vandebogart.
Oh, thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to all of our amazing listeners for tuning in this week. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get going here. First, would like to give some new Patreon shout-outs, so thank you to Tabitha Usuri, Meredith Tackett, Christy Manzola, Mark Barnett, and Eileen O'Connell. So,
are you avoiding the intro? Do you know what I'm referencing at all?
I think I heard something about it, but
something about he is the one that reported Diddy.
Oh, really?
Like Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx. That's why he reported him.
Oh,
it's like the apex of the whole thing.
Oh, I've really not been paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I heard that. I heard that from like a TikTok video. So it could be.
Better get your fill of TikTok in.
I know they're going to shut it down.
So, thank you to all of our amazing listeners for supporting the show. We say it like a broken record, but without the support of our Patreon followers, I don't know if we'd still even be doing this. Probably, but we'd still be in my attic.
We'd still be in Mike's attic, and we'd be crying halfway through the episode.
Yes. If you want to call the show and leave a voicemail, We've been racking up some voicemails, so we're going to have to do another voicemail episode at some point.
Yes. Let's do it on Christmas Day.
Let's
abandon our families and just come do a voicemail episode.
Deal. Be the last you'll ever see me.
New co-host.
Yeah. You can call 208-391-6913. I don't want to forget, check out the other shows on the Unknown Media Group Network, so Peanut Butter and Mountains podcast, Off the Trails, the Weirdos We Know, and now Who Runs This Park?
Who Runs This Park? Maddie Pellman has joined the network.
She is on the network, and we've got a bunch of other shows we are currently in talks with, so stay tuned for that. And as always, you can support us on Patreon, YouTube memberships, premium subscriptions on Apple, subscriptions on Spreaker, and if you don't, cash is tight because it's the holidays, you can always just like our videos, subscribe on the various platforms, leave reviews. That always helps with the algorithms.
Absolutely. So, and if you have lots of money, you can just send us bags of cash.
Bags of cash, yes.
It's the preferred method.
We won't turn that down either.
No, never turn down.
Hasn't happened yet, but
hey.
So,
people win the lottery all the time, Mike.
That's true.
All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. Friday, June 20th, 2003. Deep down a dirt Wisconsin road, a young man abandoned his car and began walking. As a logging truck drove by this man, he waved happily at the driver. This was the last time anyone would see or hear from him again. Join us this week as we investigate the strange disappearance of Andrew Bliss. So this episode comes right to our home state. We know all about the weather and the terrain here.
Yes. And I've been in this place many, many times.
To the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest.
Good job.
Chequamegon. Dun, 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 Chequamegon. So Andrew's car was actually found about 25 miles west of the national forest, but that's our reference because our show is about national parks and recreating areas. So about 1.5 million acres. The Nicolet National Forest is about the size of the Everglades National Park and would be around the 10th largest national park if it were a national park.
It's large. It's very remote in spots.
It's large. It's in charge.
Yes. There's a lot of ways you can get lost, especially a lot of the trails are overgrown and there's not really any cell reception once you get deep into the forest. And I've been up there a lot, so you really
it's a decent wilderness area.
Yeah, it's remote, and you need if you're going off the main trails onto these kind of overgrown trails, you really need a GPS, a compass, a map.
Especially because there's not really points of interest to levy against. Like, there's not a mountain peak that you can always reference. It's just dense. Just dense forest that's flat.
Dense forest,
rolling hills.
There's kettle lakes all over.
Yeah.
So I mean, but there's so many of them up there.
Kettles and moraines.
You're not going to know one from the other. It could be tough to identify a specific lake you're on.
No, I completely agree. It's actually more difficult than like if you have mountains to reference of like the direction you're going.
Or if you're up at elevation and you come across a stream, like there's a good chance you just follow it down the mountain. Yeah. And you'll get off the mountain.
Yes, absolutely.
Not the case here.
So this was established in the early 1930s. The Chequamegon and Nicolet National Forest were established in Nicolet National Forest was established in 1998. The two forests were combined to become the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest.
And it's in northern Wisconsin, if anyone's curious.
Yeah, it's up north, so don't come to Milwaukee. Or you can come to Milwaukee, and then you got to drive like 6 hours.
Yeah, it's like four or five, yeah.
Okay.
It's a decent drive.
Last time I did it, I had real little kids, and we had a lot more stops.
Yeah, once you leave the freeway, there's a road called 32 that is just miserable because you get stuck behind like 10 RVs. And you end up going like 5 miles.
Yeah, it's 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Yep. And you don't want to hit the oncoming traffic. So
Yes.
It sees about 610,000 visitors per year. A little history of the area. The prehistoric habitation is what is now the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest dates back thousands of years, reflecting a long continuum of indigenous occupation and cultural change. The earliest date was 10,000 to 8,000 BC. Archaeological evidence and regional studies show that this region was home to a succession of cultures, from the earliest Paleo-Indian big game hunters moving to a newly deglaciated landscape to complex woodland societies that built mounds and developed extensive trade networks. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Northwoods of Wisconsin had virtually been cleared for farming and wood for fuel, building supplies, homes, railroad ties, ships, etc. During the 1920s and the 1930s, many farmers could no longer afford land taxes and forfeited or abandoned their lands to the county government. The county sold the land to the federal government, which created the Chequamegon and Nicolet National Forest in the 1930s.
The interesting thing, too, about the forest, if you're ever up there driving, is you'll be going down a road for miles and it's all national forest land, and then you'll just hit like one piece of private land, like a square, that'll have like
a house,
a single cabin on it. And then there's... they have auctions sometimes where you can they'll sell like a landlocked like 10 acres that's like surrounded by federal land. But
so you get like an easement to get to your spot?
Kind of, yeah. Because it's federal land, you can cross it, but it's really just for like hunters. You can't obviously build on anything, but there is weird like little pockets of land probably that date back decades from...
Interesting.
Yeah.
They'll matter in like a couple hundred years. Yes. It'll be worth like $1 million or something when they develop it. The Nicolet National Forest is named after the French explorer Jean Nicolet, who came to the Great Lakes region in the 1600s to promote fur trading with the American Indians. The Chequamegon Forest is named after an Ojibwe word meaning place of shallow water and refers to Lake Superior's Chequamegon Bay.
If you're from Wisconsin, you'll know Nicolet is everywhere.
Oh, yeah, my daughter goes to Nicolet High School.
High schools, roads, cities. So he obviously played a big part in Wisconsin just based on how many things his name's on.
Which is ironic because it's a huge German
yeah.
presence here.
Yeah.
During the Great Depression of the 1930s, young men in the Civilian Conservation Corps planted new trees as part of massive reforestation effort. This is why all the trees in the forest are the same age. Some interesting facts about northern Wisconsin. More than 800,000 deer roam Wisconsin woods. If all the hunters on opening day of deer season in Wisconsin were grouped together, they would comprise the 6th largest army in the world. I've always read that before. Yeah. And we have years where nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, but usually someone gets shot.
And sometimes it's themselves.
Yeah, or you always hear about like some guy having a heart attack and falling out of his tree stand or something like that.
Yes, yep, that does happen. No, that does happen.
Yeah.
Granite Peak Ski Resort in Wausau was one of the first ski resorts in North America. There are 15,210 miles of signed and groomed snowmobile trails in Wisconsin. That is huge here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's huge with you go bar to bar and people get really drunk and drive tens of, if not 100 miles drunk on snowmobiles at high speeds.
My wife's family has a cabin up in a town in the Nicolet Forest, and there's a bar on the lake that they have called the Wild Rose. And in the winter, there's probably 50 snowmobiles parked on the lake, and everyone's inside drinking.
Yeah. That's all they do. They go bar to bar.
Yeah.
Basically in cars on the snow.
Yeah.
It happens.
And then they drive home, and unfortunately,
it's like
they get in accidents.
Yeah, everybody like talks about it openly too, because they're like, I think partially if you get hurt on a snowmobile, you kind of just hurt yourself more than anything because they're driving like through the woods. But it's still whatever.
I mean, I think
we won't have to belabor it because since we're in the state, we'll lose all the.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame is in Hayward, Wisconsin. My wife's family has a cabin up there, so I've been there multiple times to see all the muskie. Eagle River is known as the snowmobile capital of the world.
Yeah.
So there you go. So our friends at the Köben Climate Classification System classify us as a hot summer, humid continental climate. So our coldest months averaging below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, like it has been the last few days. At least 1 month's average temperature about 71.6 degrees, and the last 4 months averaging about 50 degrees with no significant precipitation difference between seasons.
I will say anyone from the Midwest, specifically probably Wisconsin, we have some of the wildest weather over the course of like a 48-hour period. I remember one.
Oh, it's like all seasons.
Yeah.
It was like 3 or 4 years ago. We had all fall, 4 seasons in like 2 days.
One fall, it was like the day started out at 85, and then we had severe weather, and then snow, and then like thunder snow.
Yeah.
All in the span of like 48 hours. And the temp went from like 85 to like 20.
And I'm that guy that everybody hates that wears shorts through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll put a hoodie on and shorts and just be like, yep, this is what you wear here. Because this is like all of it.
Yeah.
And there's that one, it might have been 3 or 4 years ago. Remember when we had that week or two where we'd get wind chills to negative like 50?
Yeah.
And then when you live in a weird place when the news comes on and they're like, hey, if you have any sinks that are on an outside wall, open the cabinets under the sink so your pipes don't explode and turn your heat up all the way to basically fight back the cold through the wall.
We have weird stuff. So I used to live near Lake Michigan, and a couple summers ago we had a pneumonia front come through, which is like a localized cold front that when you have like the perfect conditions of wind coming off of Lake Michigan, the temp changes in the span of like an hour by like 40 degrees. And it's called a pneumonia front because I guess back in the day people would get pneumonia from like the temperature. I don't know why.
They'd be out doing stuff and then couldn't get back in time.
You notice it. Like if you're outside, like it'll be 80 and all of a sudden it's like 50.
Yeah, imagine before cars and stuff. If you're doing stuff and you're like, whoa, what a great day. And all of a sudden that hits you and you have to get home and it takes you 40 minutes. Yeah. That could be like deadly.
Yeah.
That's wild. I never thought of it that way.
Yep.
The last one I'll say is the one time when that week ended where it was like negative 40, negative 50.
Yeah.
And then the next day it was like 40.
Yeah.
I'm like, we had 100-degree swing and it's still snowing.
Yeah.
Like that was like almost, it was less than that, but it was like a significant amount of temperature had changed and it was like still really cold.
Yeah, and it's weird. My dad always tells a story back when he was like a young adult that there was a December once where he was water skiing in Lake Geneva. So like in other years, it's like you said, it's like -10.
Yeah,
so,
like you'll die. Like they cancel school because you'll die waiting for the bus.
Yeah, so essentially, Wisconsin, we don't have hurricanes and a lot of tornadoes, but we do experience... Or earthquakes.
It just gets really cold randomly sometimes.
Yes.
So it's actually not that bad.
No, it's really not that bad.
And like the occasional tornado.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you put it that way...
Pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah. You're doing all right.
You're doing all right.
So the forest occupies a landscape of rolling hills, broad outwashed plains, kettle lakes, and moraines left by the retreating glaciers during the last ice age. These glacier features create a mixed terrain of highlands and lowlands, where well-drained sandy or loamy soils in upland areas transition into wetlands, bogs, and marshy lowlands in the valleys and depressions. The forest elevation varies, but generally ranges from around 600 feet to well over a whopping 1,900 feet above sea level, Mike.
Yikes.
Yeah, in many places, too. The topography consists of gently rolling hills cloaked in a canopy of mixed hardwoods and conifers. Numerous lakes, streams, and rivers thread through the terrain, carving out channels and providing aquatic habitats. The presence of rocky outcrops, old-growth forest stands, and thick underbrush interspersed with open wetland contributes to a complex ecosystem. So you aren't summiting anything here.
No.
We have a really cool like fire watch tower thing that people go to and climb to the top.
Highest point.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, look. And you look out at trees.
Yeah.
So that's my only pet peeve here is it's really just doesn't change.
Yeah.
Some of the animals, ticks. We have a lot of ticks. They can transmit Lyme's disease and other tick-borne illnesses. Hikers should use insect repellent, wear long pants, light colored clothing to spot ticks easily.
I've been up there when I've gone through the forest.
They can be bad.
I've had over 100 on my pants.
Yeah, there's times where you just like get covered with them and you've got to get them off quick. And I hate those.
It's like nasty the first time, but yeah.
After you're like, oh, there, yep,
yeah.
Get it off. We do have black bear. We have coyotes, wolves, and moose occasionally will wander into our state.
Yeah.
It's very rare, though. Unmarked or overgrown trails. So some trails, especially remote or less traveled ones, may be poorly marked. A map, compass, or GPS and knowledge of navigations are essential, and there are many communication challenges. So many parts of the forest have poor or no cell reception. So hikers should inform someone of their itinerary, carry a physical map, and be prepared for self-rescue if necessary. Distance from services. So medical and rescue services may be far away. You want to have your basic first aid and know how to use it with a plan in mind. And as we talked about with the cold, hypothermia and heat-related illnesses can happen at night, even in the summer. So cool nights and rainy conditions can lead to hypothermia, while humid summer days can also often cause heat exhaustion as well, heat stroke. So always have the proper clothing, hydration, and pace yourself. That is the key. So the hiking difficulty in Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest varies widely depending on the specific trail, terrain, and a hiker's experience and fitness level. The forest encompasses hundreds of miles of trails. Some are well maintained, clearly marked, and relatively flat, while others are more remote, rugged, and challenging. So there are beginner-friendly options. Many established trails near popular recreation areas, campgrounds, and visitor centers are suitable for all hikers of all abilities. These routes often feature gentle grades, clear trail markers, and boardwalks over wet areas. Families and less experienced hikers can enjoy short loops with scenic views, lake access, and interpretive signs. Moderate trails. As you move to the forest interior, you'll encounter longer and more undulating trails. These may have rolling hills, occasional rock outcrops, and wet sections where rainfall can create muddy spots. Some of these trails intersect with portions of long-distance routes, like the North County Scenic Trail, which can have moderately challenging segments requiring good navigation skills and stamina. Then there are the challenging routes. For more seasoned hikers of backcountry experience, there are remote trails and off-trail opportunities that demand advanced navigation, such as a compass or GPS, and self-reliance on the proper gear. These routes might feature rough, uneven ground with exposed roots, stones, and muddy patches. Seasonal changes such as heavy rainfall making stream crossings more challenging, or snow and ice in the late fall and early spring can further increase difficulty. So, Mike, how about you tell us about Andrew Robert Bliss?
Yeah, so Andrew Bliss was born December 26th of 1979. Like Joe mentioned, he was last seen on June 20th of 2003. His remains have not been found. He was a male. He was age 23 at the time. He'd be, I believe, 44 now. He was 6'3", 180 pounds. He had brown hair, brown eyes. He did have a pierced left ear, and he wore dark wireframe glasses. Personality, he seemed to be kind of a troubled young man at the time of his disappearance. Reportedly, he had just gone through a bad breakup with his girlfriend, and he had quit his job and was described as depressed. He also was exhibiting some very strange behavior, according to different police interactions that he had that we'll get into in more details. So keep all that in mind as I'm discussing his timeline. Outside of that, we don't really know if he had any medical issues. We're not sure what his occupation was, but we do know that he quit his job, and we don't know about his experience in the wilderness. We're pretty confident to say that he didn't know this area since he was from New York. So with that, we are going to jump right into the timeline. So this case starts on Saturday, June 14th, 2003. Andrew left his home in Parrish, New York. His family, like I said, had told people after his disappearance that he was depressed when he left. He reportedly withdrew about $2,000 or $3,000 of cash from his bank account, and he planned to use this while he was road tripping across the country. And this was later confirmed by his mom. So Sunday, June 15th, 2003, a receipt in his car showed that he stayed at the Comfort Suites Hotel in Pewaukee, Wisconsin on June 15th. And so in just a matter of, he left on the 14th, and by the 15th, he was in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, which would be 800 miles from Parrish, New York. So I don't know.
Just went straight through?
I mean, I guess that's a lot of mileage. I mean, you're pretty much driving the entire day.
Yeah, I've done that.
I know, but I mean, I drove once from Milwaukee to Mount Assiniboine National Park in Canada, and that was a 35-hour drive straight that we did. And I vowed to never do that again.
That happened to me and my buddy Reed when we were going to like a race, and we were driving just to New Mexico.
Yeah.
And we ended up driving through like the biggest snowstorm the entire country has seen in like many years.
Yeah.
And it took us like 35 hours.
Yeah.
And we didn't sleep the entire time.
Yeah.
Because we were just doing like 30 miles an hour on an icy freeway, towing cars, and there's semis crashing and like exploding everywhere. Like there's just things on fire on the side of the road the whole way.
Yeah.
And you're just like sliding and swerving around.
Sounds fun.
It was awesome, actually. You know, those are the trips that like you really remember.
I just remember I was with Ben and Shay, and by the time we got there, we were all ready to kill each other. That's too long to spend in a car with anyone.
or was it just Ben and Shay wanted to kill each other and you were just there?
Mostly, yeah. Pretty much.
But that happened at hour like 4.
Yeah. I mean, that was like 30 minutes in.
It just got worse by the end.
Yes. So it's now Monday, June 16th, 2003. So Andrew is now in Viroqua, Wisconsin, and he was issued a ticket by the police department there. And we don't really know what the ticket was for. And a lot of this information comes from a Facebook post of a guy who was filing Freedom of Information Act requests with these various law enforcement agencies, then posting the information on his missing persons Facebook page. So this guy, John Brilski, has been tracking this case for several years now. And
so we got this secondhand from him, but he's directly got these FOIA requests?
Yeah, he's been posting screenshots of the requests.
Okay.
And,
so it's not just like him blogging about it. He's actually showing the request.
Yeah.
The FOIA.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, I mean, anything I guess can be
sure
forged. So,
But why would you fake that?
Yeah, take it with just keep that in the back of your mind. But I feel pretty confident that this is accurate information. So, like I said, he was stopped in Viroqua, and he was given 2 citations. We don't know what it was for. And at this time, the police officers did search Andrew's car and observed a duffel bag with the money that he had withdrawn in it. So keep that in mind. Joe's actually showing one of the screenshots of the...
Yeah, I'm looking at them. You can keep going.
Well, you know what? We'll have to reach out to these various police departments, because once a FOIA request is requested and completed, this should be available to anyone who requests it, like, pretty quickly. So if we can get a hold of the actual files, we'll post them on our website. So keep this in mind. Like I said, the police department there did note the cash so he has his money at this point. So keep that in mind. It's now Wednesday, June 18th of 2003. And Andrew is now in Freeborn County, Minnesota. And he was stopped by Deputy Kurt Freitag of the Freeborn County Sheriff's Department. Freitag was dispatched to an irrigation ditch in the middle of a bean field located in Albert Lea in Freeborn County.
None of what you just said sounds like a real thing that happened.
Yeah, right?
Sergeant Freitag was in a bean field.
Yeah, right?
Like, that's like a little kid story.
Yeah. Well, so located in the irrigation ditch was the 2001 gray Chevrolet Impala that was licensed to Andrew Bliss. The deputy further stated that Bliss had left the roadway, went through a T intersection, drove a long distance across the bean field, and subsequently ended up in a drainage ditch in the middle of the field. The deputy went on to state that Bliss had spent approximately 2 hours in the ditch before walking out to an access road. Once on the access road, Bliss had been standing in the road, flapping his arms like a bird.
Okay.
The deputy further went on to say that he spoke with Andrew and that he did not know what state he was in, whether it was Minnesota or Iowa, and he did not know where he was going or where he was coming from. So very interesting. Bliss further informed the deputy that he had quit his job, cleared out his bank account, and went off to tour the country. The deputy went on to state that when he arrived at the scene, the doors to the vehicle were shut, the key was left on, the stereo was at full volume, and the vehicle was running. So the deputy also finally went on to state that he sensed that something may be bothering Andrew, and that he asked questions concerning depression, suicide, harm, and drug use, to which Andrew answered emphatically no. The deputy then asked Andrew about big changes in his life, and Andrew stated that he had broken up with his girlfriend. The deputy inquired whether that had bothered Andrew a great deal, and Andrew turned his palms upward and said, "She broke up with me." So obviously he's going through some stuff right now.
I'm like kind of given the I was going back and forth with like the deputy of like, was he doing a good job or not? Because I'm like, it seems like this guy's kind of losing it, and he's just like, whatever. But then he started asking him a lot of, I would say, good questions.
Yeah.
To determine his mental state.
Yeah. So the deputy went on to ask Andrew if he would like the deputy to call his mom and dad. Andrew didn't answer, but provided his grandmother Elizabeth's phone number to the deputy. The deputy, even though he was somewhat concerned about Andrew's emotional state, informed the sheriff's department that he felt he didn't have enough to place Mr. Bliss on any type of hold and allowed him to leave the area. The deputy went on to state that he had summoned a wrecker and gotten the car pulled out of the ditch and towed out to the road, and that he had taken Andrew to a local car wash to get the car cleaned up, as it was covered in mud and plant material from the field.
Oh, the deputy like helped him do all that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean,
sounds like a really nice guy.
Cops in a lot of the northern town, small towns are,
they got a little less to do.
Yeah,
so they'll like help people out more.
More help. I mean, not that cops aren't helpful, but
if like Milwaukee cops are busy.
Yeah,
there's like crime happening all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, like this is probably the biggest thing that's happened that week.
Yeah. So, Deputy Freitag and Deputy Chad Miller stand by while Bliss cleaned the vehicle. Deputy Miller also told Deputy Freitag that during the cleaning of the vehicle, Andrew Bliss had called home and talked to his grandmother. So part of the conversation that Deputy Miller overheard was that Andrew would be returning to New York after leaving Albert Lea. Deputy Miller directed Bliss to the connecting highway that would take him to Interstate 90. Deputy Freitag stated a report would be forwarded to Sawyer County. So now we have a little bit more information on that day. This is more unsubstantiated. We're not 100% certain this encounter was Andrew. But so that same evening, sometime between, say, 7 and 8 p.m., Hazel Ryan in Loretta, Wisconsin, later reports someone came to her residence, which was also a gas station, asking for gas. Initially, she thinks it might have been Andrew, but after viewing a high school photo provided by police, she states it was not him. However, Andrew's mother later believes Hazel was shown an outdated photo and that the man could have been Andrew after all. So, like I said, this encounter remains uncertain. If it was Andrew, it places him in Loretta Draper area on June 18th as well. So, it is now Thursday, June 19th, 2003. We have another police report, this time from the Ashland County Sheriff's Department. So, a lot of this is the direct police report. I like to, a lot of times, just read what they've written because there's a lot of good details in there. So at 3:49 p.m. while Officer Nathan Deligan was on routine patrol, he was eastbound on Highway C approaching SDH 13 in the township of Ashland County. Of Ashland, he observed at the intersection a 2001 Chevy Impala Gray with New York plate AHD 5784 parked in his lane of traffic. The vehicle was covered in mud and there were green weeds hanging within the wheel wells. He observed a young male and an older male getting into another vehicle as he was pulling up. He approached both suspects and asked why the vehicle was in the lane of traffic. So the older male stated the vehicle belonged to the younger male and had run out of gas. The older male said he was going to give the younger male a ride to the gas station to get some gas. The older male asked him if the officer could do it instead. The officer asked the younger male for an ID, and this turned out to be Andrew Bliss. He explained Andrew that obviously he could not leave his vehicle in the lane of traffic, and you'd have to push it to the side of the road. Bliss then got into the driver's side and pushed the vehicle, telling Bliss to turn the steering wheel all the way to the right. So as he started pushing, Bliss was not turning to the right, and the vehicle was going into the southbound lane of State Highway 13. He yelled at Bliss to stop the vehicle, and he did. When he approached Bliss, Bliss told him the steering wheel was locked and would not turn. The officer stated he turned the steering wheel all the way to the right, finding it was not locked. Stating that the officer then pushed the vehicle to the side of the road, Bliss then grabbed a gas can he had in his trunk and came to his squad. He explained to Bliss he would have to pat him down for weapons before he got into the squad. Bliss asked why, and the cop explained for safety, and Bliss then complied. His pat-down did not reveal a weapon or anything suspicious. So while transporting Bliss, he asked him why his vehicle was covered in mud. Bliss stated he went off the road on some road and couldn't remember where. So this is a theme.
He's just driving around.
He's driving around to the point of no gas, which that alone is a little strange to me. I've never, other than when I've been deep, in the wilderness, have I ever even gotten close to running out of gas. And even up in northern Wisconsin, there's enough small towns around with gas stations that it really shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And the other theme where you're picking up here is...
Yeah, it's hard to run out of gas here.
Yeah, it's hard. And the other theme we're picking up is he keeps... Either he's lying or he's like... He doesn't remember what he's been doing, which is very strange. The cop went on to ask him if he was near where his vehicle was parked. Bliss stated it was sometime in his travels, but could not remember. He asked Bliss what he was doing in Wisconsin. Andrew stated he was traveling around the country. He asked him if he had friends and family in the area, and Andrew said no. He then asked him where he was going, and he said he was just traveling around. Andrew was acting very odd, and he was not giving him straight answers and could not tell him where he was going. Another strange thing is Andrew also would not look at him when talking to him. When they arrived at the gas station, Andrew put gas in the can, and after transporting Andrew back to his vehicle, he put the gas into his car. Andrew then started his vehicle. He observed as the cop observed as Bliss was putting his gas can away. He had several pairs of clothes in the trunk of the car. He looked through the front of the vehicle's window and did not see anything out of the ordinary. He asked Andrew if he could do anything else for him, and he said no. So Bliss drove away south on State Highway 13. At this time, Bliss was wearing a gray colored t-shirt with blue jeans. He was not wearing his glasses at the time of this incident. So just another strange interaction. Like, you know, the day before or 2 days before, his car was found in a drainage ditch in the middle of a bean field. And he was up at the road flapping his arms like a bird. And now a cop found his car out of gas just in the middle of a road. And he has no recollection of where he was going or where he's from, what he's doing. So just overall, very strange up to this point.
Yeah.
So it's now Friday, June 20th, 2003. Like we said, this would be the last confirmed sighting of Andrew. So it's morning. It's approximately 8 a.m. In the town of Draper, Wisconsin, which is in Sawyer County. A logger named Brad Linsmeyer sees Andrew walking or jogging on U.S. Forest Service Road 162, about 1.9 miles north of Highway 70. Andrew smiles and waves at him. Linsmeyer also notices Andrew's silver Impala parked about 1/8 of a mile further south down the road, possibly with a door open. So Linsmeyer heads to work in Loretta. This is the last definitive sighting of Andrew in this case, about 8 a.m. on June 20th of 2003. So
look at how small this town is.
Loretta, yeah, I've been through Loretta.
It's like
It's not, I mean, that's not a town, really.
Yeah, the Loretta Steakhouse and then a few houses, and then that's it.
How close is it to, like, Rhinelander? Like, zoom out. Like, Rhinelander's, like, the biggest town in the...
It's like Minocqua is...
Oh, so
Hayward's closer. And Hayward's actually pretty decent-sized town. That's a fun town.
Oh, there you go. Now we got it. Zoom out more.
Oh, you didn't know where North was?
You had me all... Oh, Rhinelanders. That's how big this forest is.
Yeah, so, Rhinelander's way over there.
I'm more familiar with the east part of the forest. So on the east side of Rhinelander. If you go...
I'm on
the west side.
Yeah.
So that's how big this forest is. I've never even been to that part of the forest. I'm more familiar with the...
I'm going to let's do a measurement from where I'm familiar to you're familiar.
Well,
102 miles.
I'm another 50 minutes east of Rhinelander.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's like 80 miles as the crow flies. It's big.
Yeah, it's big. So.
I mean, it's like, they said it's like Everglades.
Yeah.
You know? That's the bottom half of Florida, kind of.
It is.
This is like the top half of Wisconsin.
If you go to the non-satellite view, the layer.
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. Just to see the actual, like, outline. There we go, map. Zoom. So, yeah, that doesn't really show it that well, but it's
big enough that it's as large as the name of the state.
It's big. It has several Indian or Native American reservations in it.
Yeah, it's like this.
It's huge. It's like 2/3 of the northern part of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So like the Crandon area is kind of where I'm more familiar with. So like due east of Rhinelander.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that part. But it's not continuous, as you can see. There's a lot of private land mixed in.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so continuing on our timeline, we're kind of
Just staring at a map.
just staring at a map. Real exciting for those listening. It's now 5 p.m. on the 20th of June. Linsmeyer returns from work and sees the Impala still in the same location on Forest Road 162. Now both driver's side doors are open and no one around. He notes the car is out of gas, the key is in the ignition, and the interior console wires are exposed. He reports the abandoned vehicle to local authorities. Sawyer County Sheriff's deputies respond. Deputy Sanchez arrives at the scene and checks the car. The vehicle contains clothing and personal belongings, but no large sums of cash, as previously noted in the prior police report. The car's...
For those watching,
Yeah.
you can see this is pretty desolate.
Oh, yeah.
On this road where he's at, there's really not much for a long time in either direction.
Yeah.
And when you zoom in, it's just, thick trees.
Yeah. Dirt road.
Yep.
Thick forest around you. Yeah, it's... And even when you zoom out, there's not a lot of big towns.
Yeah, I mean,
anywhere
there's
near there.
John Zimmerman's cabin is nearby. I'm assuming it's like a historical thing, but like that's it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
It's like actually just a guy.
yeah.
Somehow got his name on here. Yeah, there's like nothing here.
Yeah.
Just dirt roads. Okay.
It's fast. So,
Yeah, if you run out of gas there, you're kind of screwed
yeah.
unless someone comes by.
Yeah. So, the car's driver's seat is reclined. A sweater appears to have been used as a pillow. Sanchez finds no immediate sign of Andrew nearby. Andrew's vehicle is subsequently impounded. So it's now Monday, June 23rd. Like I said before, was Friday, June 20th. So a couple days have passed. Sawyer County Sheriff's Department was informed that an endangered missing persons report had been filed for Andrew in the state of New York. The Viroqua Police Department reported to Sawyer County on the 23rd by phone about seeing the money during their search of his car on June 16th. So on Tuesday, June 24th, the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department did another search of Andrew's car, and they did not find the money. So the money now is gone. Duffel bag of several $1,000s is missing. And obviously Andrew's missing. So on the 24th, a search for Andrew was launched by the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department, Sawyer County Fire Association, 3 K9 dog teams from United Search and Rescue of Luck, and the Civil Air Patrol of Wisconsin. The search centered in a desolate, swampy 8-mile section of the National Forest in east central Sawyer County. Nothing was found. The Sawyer County Sheriff's Department did another search of Andrew's vehicle, like I said, and they did not locate any money. Wednesday, June 25th, the search was continued by the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department, the Sawyer County Fire Association, and the Civil Air Patrol ground search teams. Nothing was found. Thursday, June 26th, and Friday, June 27th of 2003, the Ashland County Sheriff's Department took over the search and scoured the area with four-wheelers. They unfortunately found nothing. So now we're moving a little further out. From February to June of 2004, members of the Sawyer County Search and Rescue Team and the Youth Emergency Services Assistance Response Unit continued to search for Andrew as part of their training. In April 24th of 2004, the Sawyer County Search and Rescue Team, Loretta Draper Fire Department, the Nicolet Search Team, and Headwater Search and Rescue of Eagle River, using a canine, searched a remote area of woods northeast of Draper for Andrew's body. Again, nothing was found. Fast forward now to November of 2004. Another search took place for any evidence or the recovery of Andrew's body by the Sawyer County Search and Rescue Unit, Winter Fire Department, Draper Fire Department, volunteers, and Emergency Government Coordinator Brian Cody. So from now 2004 to 2008, The Sawyer County Search and Rescue Team continued to search for Andrew, organizing volunteers and using the search for training. We see this a lot across the country. Search teams will typically try to do their training in areas where people have already gone missing. So you're kind of you're killing two birds with one stone. You're training in, and maybe potentially you'll find something. So very beneficial, and it's great. They need a lot of training and kind of keep up on their training. So September 21st of 2008, cadaver dogs alert to the scent of human remains in the area where Andrew went missing. After hours of scouring the area, searchers found a bone which they believed to be human. But then later in October 2008, a forensic anthropologist determined the leg bone was not human but a bear. So November 2011, Sawyer County Sheriff's Office asked hunters to be on the lookout for evidence of Andrew. This is done a lot because, like Joe said in the beginning of the episode, on opening day of deer season in Wisconsin, if all the hunters got together, they'd be the 6th largest army in the world. That's a lot of boots on the ground if you're trying to find somebody or their gear or remains. So you're hoping that some hunter's going to stumble across some evidence of what happened to Andrew, but they didn't. In November of 2015, same message went out to hunters. Nothing had been found. They again did this in pretty recently, June 20th of 2023. They asked the public for any help on his disappearance. So that's kind of the end of the timeline. I had just some unanswered questions that made me curious. Why did Andrew travel through Wisconsin and Minnesota with no clear destination? What happened to his money that was visible in the vehicle on the 16th? Was Andrew truly the individual seen asking Hazel Ryan for gas on June 18th, or was it someone else entirely? What led Andrew to abandon his car on a remote forest road without fuel, and where did he go after waving to the logger? So, with that said, I've got some theories that could explain what happened, and then we'll ask Joe for his thoughts.
I was wondering why you're looking at me like that.
I don't know. I don't. It's late, and I'm zoning out, just gazing into your eyes.
I have that effect on people.
Usually a repulsive effect, but not tonight.
Ouch.
Oh, and for Christmas.
Sorry. I feel bad a little.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
All right, give me those theories.
Accidental misadventure or getting lost. So Andrew's last known location was in a remote forested region of northern Wisconsin. Given his apparent confusion and erratic driving behavior, one theory is that he wandered into the forest and became lost. If he ventured off the road on foot without supplies, he could have succumbed to the elements or suffered an accidental injury that prevented him from returning. That's theory number one. Theory number two, voluntary disappearance or self-harm. So Andrew left New York after a recent breakup and quitting his job. He withdrew all his money and seemed very emotionally distressed. Some have speculated he might have intended to remove himself from his old life, possibly with suicidal intent. If he chose to end his life in a remote area, his remains could have gone undetected despite search efforts. Third theory is foul play, robbery. So early in his journey, law enforcement documented the $2,000 or $3,000 of cash. By the time his vehicle was found abandoned, the money was gone. This raises the possibility that he encountered someone who robbed him, harmed him, or otherwise contributed to his disappearance. This scenario suggests either a chance encounter with a criminal or someone who exploited his vulnerable state. So, fourth theory, encounter with a stranger, unconfirmed witness, or third party. So reports of a person resembling Andrew asking for gas on June 18th and the uncertainty over whether it was actually him opened the door to scenarios in which Andrew might have met or traveled with someone else. If this individual existed, they may have more information about what happened to him. And then finally, just the mental health aspect. So Andrew's reported confusion, not knowing what state he was in, taking unusual routes, running out of gas repeatedly, could indicate a mental health crisis. In such a state, he might have made irrational decisions, driving into remote areas, leaving his car, wandering away without supplies. All could have led to his disappearance. So what law enforcement thinks happened is they don't know, because the case is actually still technically open. And they're continuing to ask the public for support. And just by the fact that they continued to do searches when training just shows that, this is still an active case. And it's been, 2003, 21 years now, and nothing's been found. No, he didn't really have any gear. So, I mean, that's nothing. But, his remains haven't been found. So
what do you think?
I think it's a combination or one or the other. I think it could be, sadly, suicide or a complete mental health breakdown or a combination of those. Just the erratic behavior, the running out of gas constantly, the kind of not knowing why he was there, where he was from. I mean, he could have been just lying. Or he truly could have like amnesia and not remember.
It sounds like he was manic.
Maybe, yeah.
Like he was just kind of out of it, and he ran out of gas in like the worst spot.
Yeah.
And left a bag of money in his car that's visible. I think someone just took it. Yeah, I think someone just took it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't see parked cars there all the time. Someone drove by like,
check it, just look in there, see what was going on. Like, oh, look, a bag full of cash.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there's no one else for
not
like
saying
100 miles.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's good, but I'm just saying that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for him, that's the toughest one. They saw him walking on the road. Maybe he went off into the woods.
I mean, based on his other actions, like what he did, like driving his car through that field into an irrigation ditch, like I think it's totally plausible that he was just like maybe going down the road and then just like, oh, I'm going to go into the woods now.
Yeah, just walked off into the woods
like,
and then
I'm going to
succumb
go this
to the
way.
elements.
Like maybe he thought like the town was that way or something.
I don't think he was thinking anything. I think he was wandering.
Yeah.
Just aimlessly wandering, and you go into the woods and then succumb to the elements, and then unfortunately that's it.
And depending on the type of cover, like some of the areas up there get really thick and dense, and it would be very tough for searchers to find remains. And especially it's June, the weather is going to be warm, and there's nothing, it's not like some alpine environment where if you don't have your gear with you, you're not going to make it a night.
It's summer nights, if it got rainy or wet, hypothermia. If he's not setting up any type of shelter,
but there's good odds.
There's good odds
that
but still.
The weather was pretty good, and I mean you could get pretty far on foot. So he could have walked right out of. I mean, you saw how we were looking at the map, how dense, and desolate. He could have walked miles right out of the search area.
Yeah, I would say deep end would be not off the deep end, just deep end would be he was abducted.
The drones.
No, that's just I'm like deep end's more like a Hollywood could happen. I'm making that up right now.
I was trying to tie in the drone stuff.
Well, that would be off the deep end.
Off, okay.
I'm just in the deep end. I'm just in the deep end still.
Okay, you're not
where he got abducted. Yeah, off the deep end would be like the Hodag.
Oh, the Hodag, yeah.
The Hodag's up there.
Yeah, hey, show the camera. We got one.
Yeah, we do have a Hodag.
This is what the Hodag looks like.
This is mythology of northern Wisconsin.
Rhinelander is the
This is a bad representation of it because this is like... Oh, it's got the little safety so the head doesn't bobble as much. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh, now he's scary.
Yeah.
So
if you ever drive through
it's
Rhinelander,
more like a dog. He doesn't walk on his legs. No. So this is a bad representation of a fake thing. So
I bought that at a store dedicated to just Hodag stuff.
Yeah, here, this is a better representation of like the historical. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's off the deep end.
Hodag, I like it.
The drones are dropping Hodags off in that area.
I think off the deep end, I love it. The Hodag. Realistically, though,
I think he wandered.
And either sadly committed suicide or had some kind of just
I don't think he did that. I think he succumbed
Complete
to
mental health breakdown. And
yeah.
then-
He just wasn't there. And imagine like blindly, aimlessly walking off into the middle of a thick forest, just in any direction.
And he's from New York, never been to this area before. Like a lot of
if I aimlessly walked off into the woods in there, I would get lost.
I would too, and I've been going up there since I was a kid, and I would still get lost if I had no gear with me.
Yep.
Yeah, sadly, I think his remains are somewhere up there.
Yeah, just deep in the woods.
It's so vast, and like we said, there's bears. There's lots of gray wolves, timber wolves, and so any remains that were there have been scattered by the wildlife at this point.
Yeah.
Sadly. So is there a chance someone someday might find a bone or some kind of fragment that they can eventually link back to him? There's a chance.
Or maybe he got picked up and went off somewhere, and he's just like in another state.
Maybe. But I think based on all of his, like everything he was doing prior to his disappearance, probably sadly is in the woods somewhere.
Yep. I agree with that.
All right.
So, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
But thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, where you can find videos of each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some sweet, sweet swag. Additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account on YouTube subscriptions, Apple subscriptions, and X eventually, where you'll have special access to different events, additional shows for paid customers only, and lastly, when you're enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.